All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, I have so many cats who come on my channel and they say, I really like your sports videos, but it's your videos about life that truly captivate me. And it's because people don't understand that they're one and the same. This life that we live is nothing but a game. That's all it is. That's why we have that term, the game of life. In the same way that you watch a basketball game or a football game, and there are coaches, there are officials, there are players, there are cheerleaders, there are owners, there are general managers. In the same way in life, we have coaches, they're called teachers. We have owners, they're called parents, or sometimes the government. You have star players, you have role players, you have cheerleaders, you have fans who turn against you when things are not going how they want things to go. It's the same thing, and that's why I use sports as a backdrop. When we approach this game called life, we have to understand that we must have a strategy and a plan. And it takes a lot of brothers. When I say brothers, I'm talking about you so-called black men out there. It takes many of us a very long time to realize what our strategy and our outlook is supposed to be. And often it's because we have not been properly prepped or coached. That's the importance of people who do have a certain level of wisdom and understanding, sharing it with the people who need it so that we can improve overall. Why am I saying all this? Because the CBS Morning News has decided that they're going to invite an author onto their show by the name of Sinek. He's written a book called The Infinite Game, and he's going to lay out the characteristics of someone with an infinite mind as opposed to someone with a finite mind. For those of you brothers who've been on my channel for a while, you know that I like to juxtapose the concept of a two-dimensional thinker with a three-dimensional thinker. Every man, especially you brothers out there, are supposed to be aspiring to be three-dimensional thinkers. What does that mean? That we utilize a certain amount of foresight to the best of our abilities. We're going to run into certain things in life that we're not going to be able to predict or understand exactly how they're transpiring, but we always have to be able to bounce back from whatever ordeals we're going through. Once again, life is like a game. You're going to lose certain matches. In a boxing match, sometimes you're going to get knocked down to the canvas. You have to get back up. When you play a video game and you become very proficient at it, you know how to attack your opposition depending on the level that you're at so that you can get to the next level. It's the same thing with life. When we run into certain hardships and we learn how to overcome those hardships, when we encounter the same thing again, we're not supposed to fall for the same trap the same way. In the same way that a great video game player does not fall for the same tricks multiple times. That's how we eventually conquer the game. That's all life is about. So anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
All right. New York Times bestselling author and educator Sinek gave one of the most popular TED Talks ever. Nearly 50 million views online. Sinek's talk inspires people to live their most successful lives. Take a listen.
But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal?
In other words, brothers, we're supposed to operate at a higher level of comprehension and have a plan in what we're doing. When you're dealing with a female, she's expecting you to know more than her, no matter what they say, no matter how much they claim that they're educated. They expect a man to show a great deal more prowess in life than they have, because the woman essentially knows that she's a two-dimensional thinker. I don't give a shit how many years she spent in school, in college, at a university, whether she has a PhD or whatever it is that she claims to have. She still expects a man to know more than her, because the woman grasps that the man by nature is supposed to be a three-dimensional thinker. What's the difference? A two-dimensional thinker tends to accept exactly what's placed in front of them. That's what the second dimension is. It's like a TV screen. We're watching an image. It's a flat image, but it appears to be something of depth. That's how the female brain is essentially. Are there exceptions to that rule? Absolutely. Now, to the contrary, three-dimensional level of thought is supposed to be a characteristic that a man exhibits. We're supposed to understand what's going on around us, why it's happening, and that's going to assist us in predicting what's going to happen in the future. That's a characteristic that was given to man because he's a natural builder. He's constructive. The female, in her nature, no disrespect, is destructive. I'm going to say it again, even though a lot of people are not going to like this. The female, in her essential nature, is destructive. She will destroy her life, and she will destroy the life of everyone associated with her, other than her child. That's her essential nature. That's why the Most High gave the woman the maternal DNA. so that she would not destroy her own child. It's the job of the man to offset the woman's destructive nature so that they can come together like yin and yang and balance one another out. Even in the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system, the mother goddess is often aligned with the power to destroy, whether it be Kali or Sekhmet or what have you. The man is supposed to be a master builder. That's where the Masons / Luciferians get it from.
And want to be a part of what it is that you do.
Sinek's new book, The Infinite Game, explains how you can achieve success by thinking of life like a game with no end.
Brothers, once again, once we accept that we're in a program, thereafter, we start to seek out ways to escape the program. One of the core elements of this program, especially in how it's applied to the so-called black man, is the job mentality. They want you to seek out jobs as opposed to seeking out your own career or your own business. The black man in this society is a proverbial guard dog. I've mentioned this in other videos. And how this society is constructed, of course, the Caucasian is above the people of color. They view the so-called black woman as a proverbial maid in their household. They view the so-called black man as the proverbial stray dog that they found in an alley somewhere and brought him into their home. You're just supposed to be happy to get invited. The woman knows that even though she's the maid, she's in a servile position, but she's still higher than you. Your job is to bark and protect the house. If you choose to not do so, they're going to kick you out of the house. In order for us to escape that role, we have to escape the entire matrix within our mind. We put limitations on ourselves. A lot of it's due to how we're raised. Many times we're told by family members or people who are supposed to be guides that there are things that we cannot do. You can never accept, and you should never accept, limitations on what you're capable of, ever. You have to plan out what you want to do with your life and then start actionizing it. The most difficult thing to do is figure out exactly what your gifts are and how you want to apply them. And there are very few people who can help you with that. Hopefully you come across those people in life, whether they be your parents, some type of authority figure, a guidance counselor, or whatever, a teacher who can bring out those great things in you. But you should never be seeking to work for another person.
Brings us at the table now. Good morning.
Good morning.
A game with no end. Life as a game. Is that really a good idea? How does that help people?
It's not so much whether it's a bad idea or a good idea. It's whether or not it's reality, because that's what it is. Life is a game. That's why you have winners and losers. We even use those terms colloquially. That guy's a loser or that guy's a winner. Why do we say that? Because we see certain characteristics within them. This person gives up whenever adversity strikes. That person transcends. He endures. He keeps going. Okay, he's a winner.
1986, James Carse, a philosopher, articulated that if you have at least one competitor, a game exists. And there are two types of games. There are finite games and there are infinite games. A finite game is defined as known players, fixed rules, and an agreed-upon objective. Baseball. There's always a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Sometimes extra innings. But
Sometimes extra innings, yeah, but it eventually comes to an end.
Right.
An infinite game is defined as known and unknown players. The rules are changeable, which means you can play however you want. And the objective is to perpetuate the game. So when you have a game that has no finish line, there's no such thing as winning because we don't know what the end is, what the metrics are.
Because it's always going. So
exactly
what is the
right.
difference between somebody who thinks with a finite mind and an infinite mind? Can you give us 3 different examples of those two categories? Fine.
An infinite mind is someone who thinks with a 3-dimensional level of thought. And if you're extremely blessed, you can get to that 4th dimensional level, what the scriptures call a prophet. That's someone who is used as a direct conduit between the Most High or the 4th dimension and this 3-dimensional world that we live in. But if you're a 3-dimensional thinker, you're utilizing an infinite mind. In other words, you're able to place people how they're supposed to be placed. That's why I make videos about being able to tell the difference between a concubine and a wife. Brothers, these people who come into your life, especially women, they're just characters. That's it. Some characters will be in your life longer than other characters, but you play along. That's why it's called a game. Notice when a woman encounters a man who speaks to her how she likes to be spoken to, she says that he has a lot of game. If a man is very good at it, they call him a player. That's all life is. It's a big game. And that's why I state, you cannot give the woman more credit than she gives herself. You cannot treat them more seriously than they treat themselves, because whether the woman understands it or not, she's just a player in this game. Another term for an actor, especially during the Shakespearean time period, was a player. because that's what you're doing. That's why Shakespeare said what? All the world is a stage. So another term for a game is a play. We have to play our part. Search out what your role is in life and play it to the fullest.
Thinkers do what?
So somebody playing with a finite mindset is obsessed with winning in a game where literally there's no finish line.
Yeah.
So there's no such thing as winning global politics. There's no such thing as winning business. No one has declared the winner of business. It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. But when we listen to so many leaders, they talk about being number one, being the best, or beating their competition. No. Based on what? There's just no such
ratings.
Based on the competition. Some people, they just compete for the sake of competing. And momentary victories are just a stepping stone to the next victory. That's what you call a competition addict, like Michael Jordan was. We have to be very careful with that spirit. The main person that we always have to be competing with in our lives, and I'm talking to you so-called black men, is ourselves. Because in the grand scheme of things, the game is rigged for you to come in last, so-called black man. Once again, even behind your woman. So you have to start to set your own rules. The only way that you can do that is to establish your own environment. And that's not going to happen working in corporate America. Once again, I'm not trying to dissuade every so-called black man from going there, but I think that there is a direct correlation with the slave mentality and the effeminate mode of thinking that many so-called black men have, and their eagerness to go have a job and just stay there forever. Many cats get jobs at 25 years old, they blink, they wake up, they're 45 years old still doing the same job. And they say to themselves, you know what? I've been here for so long, I might as well just stay at the same place in the same role. And you still have 30, maybe even 40 more years on the earth. You still have time to become a better version of yourself, but cats talk themselves out of it.
Advertising?
So, for now. You'll be number one for now.
So what's the advantage when you shift your thinking?
So when you shift
your thinking, you optimize who you are as a person. It's almost like the film that just came out, the X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix. Jean Grey started out just as a basic telepath, someone who had telekinetic powers. But through the Dark Phoenix Force, she was able to become the utmost version of herself. Cats will never know who they are inside until they start to apply themselves and believe in who they are and understand what life is. All it is one big game. People are going to be playing games with you for your entire life. Just play along. When you meet that woman and after 2 weeks she says, I think I'm falling in love with you. You don't have to lie and say that you love her back if you don't really feel that same feeling that she has or that same emotion that she has. But sometimes you have to pat them on the top of the head like a little child and just go along with it and just enjoy it while the time lasts. So many of the things that we experience in this life are finite. Women that you think you love so much, family members that you love are going to pass away. You're going to have a job that you like where you might get laid off. You have to understand these things. That means that it's time to go to the next level and the next level and the next level.
An infinite mindset in the infinite game, you're actually playing for the game you're in. When we play with a finite mindset in an infinite game, there's a few very predictable and consistent outcomes. The decline of trust, the decline of cooperation, and the decline of innovation. Which means when we play with an infinite mindset in the infinite game, we'll see the increase in trust, the increase in cooperation, and the increase in innovation.
In other words, when you play along, people are going to be more likely to want to invest in you because they see that you understand the game at the very least on the level that they do, if not more. When a woman says that she trusts a man, what does she really mean? She means that she can count on him to subsidize her monetarily, that she likes the rod that he's giving to her, and that when she calls him, he's going to be there. If you have enough money and good enough rod and you're dependable enough, the woman will tolerate you having another woman. It's very rare in this society because so much power has been granted over to the woman. But the more that you show that you're able to be a provider, the more the woman sees that you're a good player in the game. That means that she trusts you more.
Better than the other, because I started out thinking finite is better. And then after reading your book, I'm thinking maybe infinite is better. Is one better than the other?
Well, the reason why you thought that finite was better, Gail King, is because you're a finite thinker. You're a two-dimensional thinker. That's what you are. You're limited in your ability to understand. Your scope is limited, and that's okay. It's just very unfortunate that you walked in on your husband banging another broad 35 years ago and you're still not over it.
It's not a question of better or worse. It's a question of playing with the right mindset for the game you're actually in.
Absolutely.
So if you're playing baseball You have to play with a finite mindset. You can't just play to improve in baseball.
Look at Gail. Gail knows damn well she don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Because the odds are you'll probably lose by the end of the game because it runs out.
So who establishes the rules of the game?
The rules of the game are the rules of the game. Like,
the Most High establishes the rules of every game. Your job is to learn those rules, brothers. You understand that? When you enter the workforce, you have to learn the rules of the game. When you start dealing with these females in relationships, you have to understand the rules of the game. The rules are determined by the Most High and they're executed by man. When man changes laws, it's under the inspiration of a spirit from the Most High, either on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. You have to comprehend the dynamics of the society that you're in. That's why I state you cannot treat hoes like housewives. We live in a society of whores. No disrespect, because there are exceptions to that rule. There are very few exceptions, but there are indeed exceptions to that rule. It's not our job to turn a whore into a housewife. It's our job to be able to distinguish between the two. That's our role in the game that we have to play in relationships.
Why do we think about life as a game anyway? I was just told, like, this is not a game. This is your life, your one and only life.
well, I mean,
Because that's what it is. You play the game, but you play seriously.
it's a game with a little g. I mean,
Yeah.
the most important thing here is that we're so obsessed with winning or losing, but really it's the journey. It's the play. It's the playing of the game that's actually more important.
The play is the thing.
The play is the thing. It's
You
the-
do see
Well, I partially agree with that. We are overly obsessed with winning. And the fact of the matter is, once again, brothers, we're going to take losses. But sometimes you learn more from a loss than from a victory, even a Pyrrhic victory. Sometimes we have to take that L. You have certain fighters who get decisions in matches that they should have got the L. And they go back to training camp and they train the same way. When if they had gotten the L from the judges, they would have trained completely differently. So that's how we have to look at life, man. Once again, you're going to hit hardships. Certain things are going to happen that are going to bring you to your knees. Going to make you wonder if life is worth living. But you have to get up and keep moving forward.
encouraging people, though, to think outside the box. The more I read about an infinite thinker, I started thinking, maybe I'm one, or I certainly want to be one, because they do look at things
Well, Gail, I can help you out. You ain't one, okay? You ain't one.
very differently. They look at the value, what the value they bring, and how they want to make the world a better and different place.
Absolutely, this
I
is
think it's
learnable.
so key.
We can learn to change our mindset.
Yes.
And since
We can learn to change our mindset, but for the most part, a change in mindset or a change in outlook is going to come with growth and experience in life. You're not going to think the same things at 35 that you think at 21. I promise you that. And that's one of the main reasons why I always lambaste the wokety wokes, as I call them, or the pro-blackety blacks. Because at 37, 45, 50 years old, they're still thinking and conducting themselves like teenagers, throwing tantrums, trying to get their proverbial daddy, the white man, to give them a hug. That's why I have such little respect for them, because after all this time, we're supposed to be changing our tactics because we have to compete. That's why they call it a race. That's why they call it races, because it's competition.
I sort of started writing this book, I've learned to become much more of an infinite thinker myself. So if something bad happens at work, or something, that I think has set me back or made me feel like a loser, I lost this, whether it's a piece of business or an opportunity, I've now sort of, I remind myself, I say, take an infinite mindset. And I think to myself, no, I'm behind. I haven't lost anything.
Absolutely. Energy is never lost. It's just transferred, brothers. You lose that woman, there's another one coming down the pike. For the most part, they're replaceable. You lose that job, there's another job coming down the pike. For the most part, they're replaceable. You should be trying to figure out what you can do to make money for yourself anyway. There are more ways to make money now in 2019 than ever before in the past. You have to utilize your brain. Work smarter, not harder. Now, when you get to the point where you love what you do, you're naturally going to work hard anyway.
So I'm just behind for now, and the opportunity is to improve. The only true competitor in an infinite game is ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's the true theme of this entire segment. Our only real competition is ourselves. When you're with someone and they're constantly trying to compare you to someone else, you know what that is? It's because they're trying to lower your self-esteem so that they can control you. They view you as a pawn in the game. You have to remove that person expeditiously.
Also about leadership, and you say you don't have to be in a position of authority to be a leader.
100% true. I know so many people who are at the highest levels of organizations who are not leaders.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Amen to that. I could tell you so many stories of so-called managers and directors and executives from the previous jobs that I worked at who had no leadership abilities whatsoever. They were just there because they were looking for a title and for position. One of my favorite movies is the film Braveheart, and one of the best lines in the film is when William Wallace, played by Mel Gibson, tells the actor playing Robert the Bruce, men don't follow titles, they follow courage. You have to have insight, you have to have understanding, you have to be innovative to be a great leader. But number one, you have to have courage, because that's what's going to galvanize the troops into following you into battle, whether it's literal or proverbial.
They have authority,
Yes.
and we do as they tell us because they have authority over us.
How do you be a leader without authority?
Number one, learn how to lead yourself. For cats out there who are trying to figure out how to become leaders, you can't lead somebody else if you can't lead your damn self. That's the bottom line. That's why, once again, my channel is geared towards the so-called black man, because he's supposed to be the head. I've never understood these dudes who claim to be representatives for their people, but you're talking to everybody. You're talking to the black man and the black woman. What you're covertly saying is that the black woman should be viewed as equal to the black man when you speak to both parties. When you say, I'm speaking to black people, all this nonsense. No, the black man is the head. The so-called black man, I should say. You direct your thoughts, your words to him. And that empowers him. That makes him feel special. That's the point. He's supposed to feel special because he's the leader. He should understand that messages are given to him. In the so-called black community, a lot of our problems come because of the contention between the man and the woman. So when you hear these people trying to put forth all this rhetoric about what black people need to do, so on and so forth, if you're not even cognizant of who you should be directing the message to, why should I trust your message?
Leader, whether you have authority or not, whether you have rank or not, is a responsibility to see those around us rise. And so if you make the choice to look out for the person to the left of you and the right of you, you are the leader.
I remember I was a part of a group that the so-called leader said, we have to bring in a ranking system. When they said that, I said to myself, you know what? I'm not going to be here much longer. I've never been a group person anyway. But when I heard that, I understood that what was more important to certain members of that group was a title rather than, something of quality. Brothers, never ever forego the importance of quality in your life. You have the right to demand quality in whatever you're doing, wherever you're at, whether it's a relationship, your lifestyle, how you live, who you're surrounded by, and not just a facade or a veneer. You have people who are going to approach you and they're going to have some type of badge or certification and claim to be this and claim to be that, some type of rank. You never know how proficient someone is at what they do, no matter what it is, whether it's a plumber, a janitor, a window fixer, whoever, electrician, or a leader of a group, until you see them in action. So when people are worried about ranking systems and things of that nature, they're showing you that they're not sincere. That's what they're showing you. They're not sincere.
Every one of us can be the leader we wish we had.
We got to go, but I want to say this about Simon. He's described as a visionary thinker with rare intellect. I like that about you. And
who wrote that? Him? I'm just playing.
Mission, you say, is to help build a better world. People wake up every day and inspired, safe at work, return home fulfilled every single day. I want to be
That's another thing. A lot of so-called black men don't like their job, and they come home and they take it out on whoever's there. Their girl, their lady, their wife, whatever the title is that she has, the children, etc. If you know that your workplace is affecting your outlook on life, you got to leave that workplace. Hell, if your woman is affecting how you conduct yourself at work, because sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you have a place that you work at that you like, but you come into work with an attitude because the female is constantly trying to push her negative energy into you. Once again, the natural calibration of the woman is negative. I hope that you brothers understand that. So if you're dealing with a woman who's positive, you're extremely fortunate. But their natural calibration is negative. And if it doesn't come out early, it'll come out late. So if you're dealing with a woman like that and she's affecting your mentality in the workplace, you got to get rid of that woman, man.
your club.
Also, an optimist.
Yes.
An optimist.
Die hard.
I like that.
Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, you can call him an optimist. I just prefer to call a person like this a realist in how he assesses society. We can never take anything more seriously than it takes itself.
Ultimate game is on sale now. Coming up on
But anyway, that's basically it on that. This will probably be an ongoing series because this is very important that we approach life the right way. But anyway, peace.